This video has been sponsored by MSI. A link to their Facebook page and website can be found in the description. Holy shit, MSI sent me a Titan. This thing is a monster. Let's get into it then. Let's see what we've got. So, now first things first, this thing is massive. I mean, the box this thing comes in is huge. I don't know if I've ever seen a laptop come in a box this big. It's probably hard to make out on camera just exactly how big this is for reference, but it's absolutely gigantic. So, and I'm not sure if there's any nice way to do this on camera because it's going to take up a lot of space. But anyway, we'll get into it and we'll see what we've got. Now also, disclaimer, this is a review sample of the Titan SLI. So if you were to buy one retail, it might come sort of packed slightly differently, but you should still all get the same. So let's take a bit of a look. And I think someone's actually reviewed it before I've got the chance to. So it's not totally 100% brand new. But anyway, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we see is, well, we can see the laptop pack there with some nice soft shell foam. And we have another box here, but we'll go ahead and get this box out first. Holy moly. This box itself feels like there's a laptop in there. I'm just going to sit that there just for a second until we see why this is so heavy. Okay, well that explains it. So that's 2 power supplies. I don't know if you guys have seen too many laptops that need 2 power supplies. That's crazy. Holy moly, and they're not small power supplies either. They're pretty hefty. So it looks like they then connect down into, or some sort of double link. Anyway, we'll find out more about that. So 2 huge power supplies. Put that there. Okay, right. So this must be what they connect to. So it looks like you've got your dual input there, which then goes into a single input into the back of the laptop, I'm assuming. And we've got some documentation. We've got some hotkey functions or tips, warranty service book, quick start guide, and a warranty card for registration. And okay, on this side we've got both the power cables. So that's I don't know if that's concerning or exciting, the fact that it has 2 giant power supplies. Maybe that's a sign of how much power this thing's really got. So that's pretty exciting, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's all there is for this box. So we'll just set that down there out of the way. Boom. And we'll get the main attraction out. Right, here he is. I'm just going to move that box down there so I've got some space. All right, so really, really nice packing. Nice and soft. It's not like that hard foam that you sometimes get things in. So if it takes a hit in shipping, it should survive. But anyway, all right, here we are. Now this thing, oh wow, I tell you what, this thing is so heavy. Holy moly. Especially when you compare it to the Phantom Pro that I had a look at a couple of weeks back. That thing was light. This thing, it's almost uncomfortable to hold one-handed. It's really, really, really big. All right, anyway. So it comes in the black sleeving here. And here we go. There's our first look at it. So it has the same style as the other MSI gaming laptops, but this is a monster. This is way bigger than the others. All right, well, nothing left to do but take a closer look at it. This is MSI's new Titan SLI gaming notebook. The specific model is the GT73VR-7RE. The pricing for the Titan range starts off at $35.99 if you want the base level, but if you want to step up to get the exact specification of this one that I'm reviewing, you're going to be looking closer to around $47.99 Australian. Before we see what's driving this beast, let's take a look around the notebook itself. It measures 428mm wide, 287mm deep, and is 49mm high when closed, and it weighs a whopping 4.14 kilograms. So yeah, it's not small. So looking at the top, we can see that it has a brushed metal lid with both the MSI and their Dragon logos, with the Dragon logo being backlit, as well as a faint Titan logo towards the base of the lid. It also has a couple of red metallic accents just to break up the huge amount of space on the lid itself. If we take a look at the front, we can see that it's a fairly clean design. There's not much going on at the front. There are 3 LED indicators, those being the wireless, battery status, and drive activity lights. Swinging around to the right, we can see that it has 2 USB 3 ports and an SD card reader. It also has a giant ventilation port and also a Kensington lock. Jumping over to the left side, we can see another huge ventilation port, 3 more USB 3 ports. How do you like them apples, Apple? The audio connections are also here, being line out, line in, as well as the mic and headphone ports. And yep, guess what? No optical drive. Even though this is a huge laptop, the omission of an optical drive speaks volumes about that technology. Alright, let's jump over to the rear, and you guessed it, there's more giant ventilation ports. What is this thing, a nuclear reactor? Yes it is. Now moving along, we can see we've got a LAN port, a mini display port, USB Type-C with Thunderbolt and charging support, a full-size HDMI, and the power connector for use with the dual power attachment that I showed you in the unboxing. Alright, let's flip it over, and what a surprise, more vents. In fact, the majority of the underside of this laptop is ventilated. You've also got 4 rubber feet, and the 2 3-watt stereo speakers and the 5-watt woofer are under here as well. There's also a battery reset hole which you'll need to access if you upgrade the firmware or the system hangs. When we open it up, we can see the webcam, which is actually capable of 1080p 30fps. We also get our first look at the panel, but I'll cover more on that later. There's also a series of 5 buttons on the right hand side, obviously one of them being the power, and the other 4 are quick launch buttons. One for the GPU mode select, where you choose between the dedicated GPUs or the onboard graphics. There's a cooler boost, which puts the system fans at maximum speed, and there's an XSplit Gamecaster button and a keyboard lighting effect button as well. The keyboard is designed by SteelSeries and has fully customizable RGB lighting. The keys aren't mechanical, but they do have a nice feeling and are well spaced. I didn't find myself making too many errors when typing on it. And the trackpad is big and has a clean design, and is as good as you'd expect one to be, with a nice coating, excellent tracking, and a satisfying feel to the left and right clicks. Alright, and how about the hinge test then? So basically, any time you can open a laptop screen with one hand and not have to hold the body down is a positive in my book. But as expected, it's not an issue with this giant Titan. Okay, now on to the fun stuff. So the Titan SLI features the new Kaby Lake i7-7820HK, which is a very high-end quad-core processor with a base clock of 2.9 GHz and a boost clock of up to 3.9 GHz. It has 32 GB of DDR4 memory running at 2400 MHz, and it does support up to 64 GB of memory because it has 4 DIMM slots. The storage is a combination of a 512GB NVMe SSD and a 2.5-inch 1TB hard drive. Now here's the fun part. It's packed with 2 GTX 1070s and SLI with 8GB of DDR5 memory. Now keep in mind this is the exact same GPU core that's in the full-size desktop version of the card. However, the GPU boost in the mobile versions does operate slightly different to the desktop versions. The display is a 17.3-inch matte Full HD wide view panel with a refresh rate of 120Hz and featuring G-Sync technology. It also has AC wireless, Bluetooth, and comes preloaded with Windows 10 64-bit and is backed by a 2-year MSI warranty. And now onto the benchmarking. Alright, so there's the benchmarks running the laptop on the native screen, but you're not going to see the best out of it unless you hook it up to a good external monitor. So let's bang it on the X34 and see how it handles that.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
Alright guys, let's wrap this up then. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I wasn't sure if this was a good thing or a bad thing, was the fact that this laptop does get very loud. Now obviously there's a lot of hardware in a little space and there's going to be a lot of heat generated, so the fans need to work hard to dissipate that heat. Now whilst the volume of the fans is pretty loud, it does a very good job at keeping the temps under control, but I'll talk more about that later. Alright, so let me run just a little sound test to show you how loud this thing is when the fans are at full speed. Alright, so what about the battery power then? I didn't run an actual battery power test because I figured that that kind of test isn't relevant to this kind of laptop. You're not going to buy this laptop if you're concerned about power usage. This is an absolute beast and it's going to use a lot of power, and running it just on the battery is not going to last long at all. If you do run it on battery power alone, it's going to kind of clip its own wings and it's not going to stretch its legs fully because it's going to be, trying to extend its life. But you're going to get the best out of this when you're using it plugged in somewhere, whether it be in a permanent location at home or whether you take it on the go somewhere, but you're really going to want to have access to a wall socket or some sort of power to drive it to get the best out of it. This is not the laptop you're looking for if you're looking for something that's power efficient or going to last a long time on battery power alone. I did have an issue where the SteelSeries Engine 3 software stopped working, which meant that the keyboard lighting didn't work at all. Now, I wasn't sure what caused that, so I had a bit of a look at it, and for some reason the software had become corrupt. Now, a clean install of the software fixed that, and I haven't had another issue again, so I'm not really sure what was behind that, but other than that, I've had no dramas whatsoever. Alright, so what about portability then? Being a laptop, technically yes, it is portable, more portable than a desktop would be, but are you going to want to take it places? Probably not. It's got those huge power bricks and the size of it is just gargantuan. You're not going to want to be carrying this everywhere with you. I kind of see this as a desktop replacement for a gaming enthusiast that doesn't spend a lot of time at home or needs to travel around. That's where I see this system belonging, is definitely someone on the go that needs huge power and wants to use it as a desktop replacement. Not if you're going to be visiting LANs a lot or taking it around a lot of places. I think you get very tired of lugging all this gear around. If you're looking for an ultra portable laptop that still has some grunt, perhaps look at the Phantom Pro or something that's a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter and easier to transport, but still has plenty of punch for those games. Alright, so what about things that I did like? So number one, I love the performance of this thing. This thing absolutely destroyed anything I threw at it, whether it be running it just on the 1080p 120Hz screen on it or running off the X34. Absolutely chewed through everything that I threw at it. Now, in saying that, I expect that for around this sort of price figure. If you want a laptop this spec, it's going to be about $5 or a bit less. And for that same money, you can build a pretty crazy desktop and have money left over. But we can't really compare the two. Like I said before, this is not really comparable to a desktop system. This exists in a different realm. This is really suiting someone who wants the power of a high-end desktop, but needs it to be semi-mobile. And I also really love the way that it looks. I think it's a very good looking laptop. I think that the design of it and the whole look of it, especially from the back where it looks like a supercar, I think MSI absolutely nailed the look of it. How about the temperatures then? We spoke earlier about their fans really ramping up and it being quite loud. But the temperatures were kept in check, and at no point did I see the laptop really struggling to hold performance or throttling itself down to keep itself under control. Temperatures were mostly in the low to mid 80s, sometimes creeping up to the high 80s, but that's fine for this laptop and it handled it, and it didn't have to clip its own wings to stop itself from performing or anything like that. So how about the VR performance then? Like the last review, I haven't managed to get hold of a Vive or an Oculus Rift kit or anything like that just yet, but I did run the Steam VR test again to give an idea of the indication, so I'll pop that up here. Now, you can see there it's off the scale. And obviously, when we looked at the benchmarks, this thing destroyed everything. It's going to have no dramas whatsoever if you want to use this as a VR solution. How about the audio then? So the audio on board is actually some of the best audio that I've heard from a laptop. And I'm talking about just the speakers on it itself, not hooking up through external speakers, which I did, I'll get to in a second. but the sound of this laptop itself was very full and quite deep, and I really enjoyed it. I could totally listen to that and be satisfied. I did hook it up through my Audio Engine A5 Pluses, and it sounded excellent. The software on it is very nice, and you can customize it, and you can change the equalizer or the EQ curve to suit exactly what you want. So the onboard audio on the laptop, amazing. As I touched on before, in regards to the performance, if this is going to be a semi-permanent solution at home, you could just run it off the 120Hz 1080p screen and it'd be fine. But to get the best from it and really see your money's worth, you're going to want to run it off an external screen, whether it be a really nice 4K monitor or ultra-wide like the X34 or Asus version. That's where it really stretches its legs, and that's what it's built to do. So do yourself a favor, if you buy one, make sure you get a nice external monitor for when you're at home and you can run it off that. So there you go guys, that was my review. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below if you'd spend nearly $5 on an amazing laptop, or if you'd probably prefer to split the difference somewhere in the middle. So a huge thank you to MSI for sending me the Titan. It was a really big surprise. I didn't expect it. It just showed up and I was super pumped to get into it and review it for you guys. So if you liked the video, leave a thumbs up and remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And a huge thank you to MSI for sending it over again. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.